Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Walmsley. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. We're a growing global community of over 185,000 now. And I don't get to meet everyone, but when I do, it's a pleasure. So Michael Woodruff has joined me today. Michael is one of our full members, and we're going to have some fun today. I'm going to create Michael's fantasy cultural year based on the work that he does. Uh, there are no wrong answers to the questions I'm going to ask. So, Michael, thank you for joining me to do this today.
No, thanks, Mark, for having me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Before I take you on your fantasy cultural year, I wonder if you'd be kind enough to just say hi to everyone, tell us where you're based, and tell us about the work you're doing.
Well, as Mark said, I'm Michael Woodruff and I'm based in London, in South London. And the work that I do is sort of split up in two. I have a professional studio or practice, and I work in like the film, TV, entertainment, and advertising industry. So I do a lot of like documentaries, things like the BBC, National Geographic. And that's most of the work I sort of chase. But from that, I also have a digital art. So, like all the years that I've been using my software, I've been pouring that into how I think about the kind of current state of digital art. So, I have these two kind of studios, these two, working professional, and then trying to create art as well on the side.
Fantastic. And I think it's at nectarmotion.com, isn't it?
Yes, that's my the site. Yeah, with quite a lot more.
Okay, let's open that up so we can show people some of your work, if that's okay. Or is there somewhere better to look?
No, there's better than Nectar Motion.
Excellent. Okay, here is Michael's website. It's at nectarmotion.com. Projects and case studies here. What would you like? Where shall I go so we can have a look?
Best thing is either click the reel kind of
Let's do
thing.
that.
Have a
Shall
look
I?
and
I
see.
haven't shared sound. Has it got sound?
Yes, but it doesn't matter. It's all
Okay. How long is it?
it's about a minute long.
Okay, let's have a look. Wonderful stuff. It's a bit of a trip, that opening, isn't it? It's
Yeah, some of
great.
that's my digital art. So I'm
Yeah.
having this kind of not I'd say crisis, but it's kind of how do I sort of merge these two very distinct kind of visual languages that I sort of do. One that's a very commercial that I need to sell and sustain myself as a career, and
Yes.
also it's very artistic, and also how I, sort of want to get more into that side of things and build a career
Mm.
in that.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's
And I've had, the great chance to work with people on projects like David Attenborough, the late Queen, and recently the Titanic, which is up for, it's been Emmy nominated. So hopefully this year
Ooh.
it can be, yeah.
We don't have many Emmy-nominated motion graphic designers in our community, so congratulations. That's a real milestone, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh, this
and
is
I think
great.
my work, I work with a lot of maps, titles, the design, and there's this weird world between it's not graphic design, it's not visual effects, it's it's sort of throwing the kitchen sink and trying to create these kind of
Well, there are so many wonderful different styles in
mm.
your show reel. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and
Lovely.
it's kind of very agnostic. I do work a lot with archive, and I think that's at the heart of what I do as an artist as well.
Yeah. Well,
And I
that's
think
great. And
that,
there'll be more here, I assume. So if you're watching and you'd like to go and check out some more of Michael's work, it's at nectarmotion.com. Fantastic. Excellent. Now, your fantasy cultural year. Now, I'm inspired by the maps.
yes.
Okay. So are you. Um, I, I think I've got an idea for uh, a kind of interactive map-based TV series. Okay. Um, and the way I'll explain it in a minute, but I need to place you somewhere in the world before we start. So I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite building, Michael?
You just asked us this before, and as is always, my mind went completely blank. And it went on this kind of, and because I'm a very visual, it went on this, oh, there's all these amazing places. I think one of the places just because obviously I grew up there. I grew up in Blackpool, so Blackpool Tower. It has this. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but this, it's obviously something which was very
That's a
formative in
great
my early
place to
years.
start. Let's show everybody because we've got people watching from all over the world. So let's have a look and see if we can find Blackpool Tower. It's an elegant Eiffel Tower-esque tribute, isn't it? So I imagine it was after the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, I think not that you'd know now, but there was two of them. One in Blackpool and one of them over the way towards Liverpool,
Yeah,
another resort, which is didn't really make it as much as Blackpool made it as a resort and place. But yeah, it's still standing, which is
yeah,
with
it's
the
great.
Blackpool weather, it's
Yeah. Okay, so for the purposes of our fantasy cultural year, I'd like you to imagine you're sitting on that beach, okay, at a pop-up bar, okay, table and chairs, very nice. You're admiring the view of Blackpool Tower and reminiscing from your childhood, okay? Um, and there is a drink on the table next to you. It's 6 p.m. on a warm Friday evening in June. What drink would we find on the table there?
well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily Blackpool, but I just more my travel kind of thing. It's just there's nothing really hits that first like an Aperol spritz. It's just a nice and refreshing.
Nice
It's
Aperol
become
spritz.
mine and my wife's sort of favorite drink over the years. So,
Very nice. And on the table next to your drink is a book.
mm.
It could be your favorite book. It could be a book that's been with you all your life. It could be a book that's changed your life or a recent discovery. What book would we find there on the table next to you?
Uh, I've actually brought some props, so it'd probably be one of the art books, but not necessarily. But this is the one that's closest at hand. And
Yeah,
basically, when I was starting out as a motion designer, before I had a real job and career, what I wanted to do, it's just basically a pictorial book of lots of projects of crazy things people were doing with computers like 20, 25 years ago, and that's it's always inspiring.
love it. That's great. So we've got the Aperol Spritz, the
Mm,
portfolio book,
mm,
the design book, and we've got Blackpool Tower. Now you've got headphones on
mm.
and there's music playing. What would be playing?
Oh, it's just that's the I even got more kind of
All
thing.
props. Fantastic.
So this is like Northern Exposure, like Session Digweed. So I
Okay.
dress, the house at 20 years old, and I've got like, you know,
Love that.
Global Underground. These are very formative to what I do and really
Yeah,
inspirational for me. So,
love that. There we go. Nobody chooses the same four things in those circumstances. Now you're feeling quite pleased with yourself because you've just come from a meeting at the base of Blackpool Tower with a wealthy Lancastrian family foundation.
mm,
Okay. They are generous supporters of the arts and they've got wind of the work that you do with your motion graphics and maps of the globe and the zooming in and the zooming out. And they'd like to hire you for a year, okay, at great expense, to to travel the world and produce some zoom in destination documentaries, starting in space, go down to wherever you want, go down to wherever you want. And you get to do a documentary about lifestyle and society in each of those places. And every time at the end of every um, uh, 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 program, it zooms back out again. And then for the next one, it zooms back in somewhere else. It's a combination of your digital art, the a documentary storytelling of those places, and your expertise at doing that kind of motion graphic work. Um, they want you to travel the world, and you can choose what the cities that you do this for. It's first class all the way. Friends and family can come and visit you while you're away in each of the cities at their expense. There'll be a TV crew following you. They want to document the making of a bit like they do with Planet Earth. And there's a book deal in it as well. And you get to do a TED talk about it when you get back. You're on the sofa with Lorraine Kelly. And if you want to, you can do a global university lecture tour after you've you've created the work. Um, it does that sound like fun?
I'm sort of doing, I'm obviously not on the sofa with Lorraine, but you know, there's bits of projects which are doing little small bits, but it's be careful, I guess, what you sort of have to wish for with all that thing being given to you
Yeah.
all at
Well,
once.
it's a nice steady year. It's not overworked. You've got plenty of time to do it. You've got plenty of time to explore the cities and the countries that you choose to visit while you're doing this.
I'd think a year is probably not long enough. You want to savor, you'd want to spend a bit more time, and you want to become embedded in these places. And
Well, quite possibly we might have to extend it because I have a magic wand and a time machine at my disposal for this interview.
excellent.
So we can do that. So all you need to decide
Hmm.
is where are you going to start first? Where are we going to go from Blackpool to?
I think probably let's go to because I was there last year. I was in Japan, so I went to like Tokyo and Osaka and various other cities in there. But there's a place called Nara, which is the old imperial capital. It has like one of the largest wooden buildings there, the Buddhist temple, which is huge, and there's parks, and it's just full of friendly deer who come up to you and want you to buy rice cakes to feed them. So that's a really nice, gentle way
Excellent.
to
Okay,
start.
you're on the plane. You turned left on the plane.
Hmm.
Okay. Because you're traveling first class, and the steward brings you an Aperol Spritz and a note from the Family Foundation. They have a musical challenge for you, and they would like you to limit your musical listening to one very specific genre or type of music for 12 months
Hmm.
to the exclusion of all else. In those circumstances, what would you choose?
It probably mostly what I listen to at the moment anyway is kind of like electronic music, the kind of techno kind of thing. A lot of DJ mixes. That's usually what I'm listening
Nice.
to anyway.
You can have that. You can have that. Now you arrive in Tokyo and you're whisked off to a loft apartment overlooking a cherry orchard with deer in it and a palace in Tokyo. Okay. A group of young designers have been detailed to look after you and they've helped you unpack. They've said, do relax, make yourself at home. They're going to come back and take you out to a dance performance and then out to dinner. Now, you don't have to stay in Japanese culture. I've got a magic wand and a time machine. I can put on the stage in front of you any dance-based performance, any dancers, living or not, any style, any group. What dance performance would you enjoy on the stage?
More a question for my wife. She's the great lover of dance.
Who is?
My wife.
What would she? What she's going to be with you,
No,
right?
she's me with me. No, she would love. Obviously, she's a massive fan of Strictly and everything, and obviously get caught along and watch these kind of things. But for me, I think with the dancing, I'm a terrible dancer, kind of thing. But it's that participatory because obviously the dance music culture. There's lots
Mm,
of within the past like 30 odd years. There's been great kind of gigs or events that sort of shaped that kind of, and everyone said it was always better in those olden days. Everyone was just there to have fun and dance. So it
yeah.
would be at those more formative years and some of the
Well, we can take you back in time to
brilliant,
do
yeah.
some of those. That would be good. And because your wife's sitting next to you, she'll get a bit of Strictly. Don't
Okay,
worry.
that's great.
Um, and they're going to take you out to dinner. Now, Tokyo has cuisine from all over the world in its restaurants. What would you prefer?
Uh, to be honest, I had when I was in Tokyo, I had great pizza, some of the best pizza I've ever had, and that was
Wow, pizza in
pi-
Tokyo. There we go.
pizza's always it's good.
Yeah, that's the first surprise of this interview. I love that. Now we're going to whisk again. We're going to go to another city in a different country. You can go anywhere in the world. Where would you go next?
Uh, I'm to make it interesting, kind of, I would have said somewhere in America because I love traveling in America. But kind of thing, of the year I got back from Uzbekistan, and it's another country I'd like to have seen more of.
Mm, okay, let's go back to Uzbekistan. What's the capital? I can't remember.
This is kind of, it's the capital, Tashkent.
Oh, Tashkent. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't stay out, saw the airport, but I went to a place called further against, but then into Bukhara, which was one of the old trading kind of cities there.
Okay. Well, when we get to Tashkent, it's sport day
Hmm.
in Uzbekistan. And we've had breakdancing in the Olympics. We get ice dancing,
Hmm.
gymnastics to music. Much sport is performance art.
Hmm.
So I can put a sporting event in front of you. What would you like to watch? It doesn't have to be Uzbek. It can be any sporting event. What's your
Well,
favorite?
and so I like football. I like football, like American football. Any of those sports really.
And your team, your football team?
Football team at the moment is Blackburn Rovers.
Blackburn, where are they in the league at the moment? Are they in?
Championship, just they just avoided relegation.
Oh,
Just
well, that's good. That's good. I live very close to Southend and we won the FA Trophy yesterday.
I see.
And
I saw some of them on the TV. The
yeah,
Shrimpers, more than the shrimp.
Shrimpers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Southenders.
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent. Okay, well, we'll enjoy that. Now I'm going to whisk you again. This is a whistle stop tour at the moment. Where are we going next?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned America, so let's say go back to New York because it's yeah, fantastic city.
Fantastic. Now in New York, there is a new digitally enhanced art gallery
Hmm.
at which you can put on a set of virtual reality glasses
Hmm.
and you can step into the work of a famous artist.
Hmm.
It's not a projection, you're in the picture. Okay.
Hmm.
It's 360 degrees, it's three-dimensional. There might be movement, there might be sound. You can walk around and you can experience in 3 dimensions what the artist could only show us in two.
Hmm.
So, in those circumstances, which famous artist's work would you like to step into?
Well, probably because we're in America, I'd probably say like Edward Hopper because obviously there's
Oh, yeah, you can sit at that bar.
exactly you can go in, and I think people have made immersive kind of sets around to try and, but it gives you a real sense of that American.
Yeah,
Lots of his paintings as well is just watching America go by, just sitting there. It's
it's wonderful stuff, isn't it?
mm,
Let me show everyone the bar you'll be sitting in. There we go. That's the bar. Oh, no, that's a better one. So,
yeah, it's usually people looking out near windows at various scenes, very melancholic. But
yeah, love
that's
it.
the best thing to do in America is just sit in bars or just people watch or watch
Yeah,
sports,
absolutely.
watch things go by.
Yeah,
It's
or you're sitting on the balcony there.
exactly it's
Fantastic. Excellent. That's great. Now we're going to buzz again.
mm,
Where are we going now from New York? Actually, no, I think I'm going to bring you back to London. I'm going to bring you back to London, and you and I are going out together every night of the week to do something cultural. Okay. On Monday, we're going back in time to a pop or rock concert.
yeah,
Tuesday, we're going to a theatre play.
yeah.
Wednesday, we're going to a West End or a Broadway musical.
Mm.
Thursday is opera or ballet, and Friday night is movie night. And we can, between us, we can choose what we go to see. So for Monday, is there a concert that you went to that you'd love to go back in time and experience again?
It's- yeah, it could be. Trying to think. It could be like a. I always enjoy seeing Underworld. I think yeah, they never everything every time is really different. It's just a great visual and sonic experience. So
Brilliant. Love that. And what about a theatre play? We're in London, so we do have access to the Globe Theatre. So we could do some
go back in
Shakespeare.
time. Yeah, I mean, see the Shakespeare and see how the people react to it. Shakespeare in the actual Globe or one of
Yeah.
the various other playhouses around there. That would
So
be
we could do Hamlet at the Globe back in the 16th century.
maybe a comedy one.
Oh, a comedy.
Yeah,
Okay. What should we
Midsummer,
do?
or
Much
Midsummer
ado.
Night Dream's always a bit surreal, but
Midsummer Night Dream. That's
yeah.
a great one. Excellent. Now, what about a West End musical or a Broadway musical?
Um, I mean, one we've been meaning to go to is the French Revolution one.
Les Mis.
Les Mis, that's the one.
Yeah, we can do Les Miserables. That's
Need to
yeah.
see
I
that.
I saw that in the 80s when it was at the I was studying at the Guildhall, in the
Mm.
Barbican Centre, and it started at the RSC in the Barbican, and the first half was an hour and three quarters long, so you couldn't have a drink before the show.
Mhm.
Excellent. Now, if I offered you ballet or opera, what would you choose?
So I've been to the ballet once. I haven't been to an opera, so yeah, I'd like to do an
Excellent.
opera
So I can
again.
suggest that we go to Tosca
Yeah,
by Puccini at the
yeah,
Royal Opera House.
yeah,
That would
definitely.
be
I'll be up
great.
for that.
Fantastic. Opera has it all. It's got art in the scenery, it's got acting, it's got dancing, it's got singing, and it's got a full
Mm.
symphony orchestra under the stage. So that's the one. And what about film night? We've got the IMAX at London Bridge. We've got the best seats in the house, got the place to ourselves, huge screen, great sound. What movie are you treating me to?
Oh God, yeah, this is yeah one of the hardest questions, sort of being asked. One of the thing I think one of the biggest kind of influences, obviously, when I was a child, kind of thing, and now it is coming back. I think it's like 40 years. They're doing an apology tour because of the controversy around the film, but it's Transformers the movie, the animated, the original
Mm.
Transformers, where I don't want to spoil anything, but Optimus dies and scarred a lot of young children who
Oh dear.
first time.
Oh,
But it's a great, a great film, even 40
well,
years old.
that's yours. We'll do that. I've enjoyed that week. Thank you. Now, before I send you off to go and do all of this wonderful work and become famous, I'm going to give you a hero lunch. And the hero lunch is we've got a restaurant in London booked for a leisurely 2 hour lunch, and it's
Mm.
you and one other person. Okay. You can choose who that other person is, and it can be anyone you like, famous or otherwise, living or not. Who would you like to have a leisurely 2 hour lunch with?
This is like a really sort of difficult question. And I'm
Hmm.
always, the thing that haunts me is everyone always says, don't meet your, the people you
Heroes.
inspire,
Yeah,
don't meet your heroes.
totally.
And it's just like but I guess, because obviously the arts and culture, it'd have to be someone in the arts, and it would probably, and knowing how crazy some of the some of the artists was, but probably someone like Duchamp. That's kind of, he still feels like revolutionary in what he's proposing, and we still like misunderstand and trying to repurpose what he's doing and saying. So
Fantastic. Let me find. Um, there we go. Oh yeah, all the modern stuff.
well, it's kind of a broad range from the theoretical, but he's also doing early, like what you'd say, video art, motion graphics of.
Yeah. Have I found the right thing? Let me show everyone. Hold on. Is that how it's spelt?
Oh, sure, yeah, Duchamp,
There.
and obviously everyone knows him for obviously one of his moniker, the Mutt, the urinal.
Yeah.
But
Oh yes, I get it. Yeah. These.
hmm. But for, like many places I've got, I've always run into like an exhibition of his, and obviously
Yeah.
he's multifaceted. What he
There
does.
he is in his
Hmm.
what probably is a real fur.
Yeah.
So excellent. Wonderful. There we go. That's your fantasy cultural year, Michael. Thank you for doing that. As normal, it pulled out surprises and anecdotes, which is lovely. So you get all of those lovely benefits: the book deal, the TV show, you get the TED Talk. Um, have you enjoyed your fantasy cultural year, Michael?
I have done, yeah, yeah. Just send the contract over, and yeah, I'll have a look in more
Let,
detail.
let me know when we can start. Thanks again for being such a good sport and doing this. Wherever this appears, there'll be information about you, examples of your work, the show reels. So if you're watching this somewhere, do click through from YouTube to read more about Michael's work. Uh, don't rush off, but for the time being, thank you so much again for being one of our full members. We're entirely member funded as a community, so it's very much appreciated. And I don't get to meet everyone, as you know, and it was lovely meeting you in London recently. So
Brilliant, yeah.
thank you very much indeed, Michael.
No, thank you, Mark. Thanks for your time.